welcome to the Tributary Kickoff Party. I may have paid her. Well, true, I didn't. I really didn't. She does think I'm amazing. But I think she's amazing as well. And you'll get to hear from her in just a second. I want to take this time to thank each and every one of you for being out here. Your encouragement, your support has meant the world to me. Your enthusiasm for me doing this is, it's been infectious. It has really, really helped keep me going. You'll hear in our first episode that hopefully will drop today or tomorrow, my interview with Kyla, how starting things is really fun and exciting, but seeing them through can be a little challenging. And the idea of the Tributary and the conversations that I've been able to have with some of my guests has been really exciting, really fun. For the most part, pretty easy as well. But it's the next part. It's the technical part. It's the putting it out there part. It's the hoping everybody likes what I've done part. That's been a little challenging. I'm really excited about all the guests that we've interviewed so far, which you'll get to hear from them tonight. And then a list of many, many more people to come. So I'm really excited about all the guests that have agreed to share a little bit of themselves with me. And one person in particular, at some point, we'll do a recording with him, but my husband, Matt Adams, wasn't able to be here tonight. He had to travel for work because somebody has to put a roof over our heads. And right now, the Tributary doesn't pay. Hint, hint, wink, wink. But this really was his idea. If you've listened to the pilot episode, you can really hear the origin story of the Tributary. But it was his idea, it was his encouragement, it was his support that has gotten me this far with this. And I am just so lucky to have him for 26 years by my side and his continued support and encouragement for things like that. So let's give a round of applause to my poor husband that can't be here. That's all right. So basically what I wanted to do is do a quick run through of the folks that have had a huge part in getting us this far. One person individual I can't even speak. One person in particular has really done a lot for me and has shown me and taught me a whole lot, and that is Isaac. He's my IT guy. He's making all of this happen. He's recording it. It's making it so we can hear. And so let's give a round of applause to Isaac. So thank you. With Collab Design out of Rogers, they do some really amazing work. So if you need any help in social media, website design, that kind of stuff, they do a great job. So look Collab up. I also want to thank Natural State Beer Company for providing this space to us. I couldn't have asked for a more picturesque place to launch the Tributary. We are all about water, and of course behind me is a beautiful little lake. So I'm really, really pleased that we could fill the space up for them, and thank you for letting us host our launch party here. So thank you, Natural State. Woo! And then one more. This particular company has done an incredible job of embracing all of my crazy ideas and really helps bring them to fruition and to life. And that's Wild Beaver Print. Yes, yay! These guys, you've seen the amazing beavers that they have designed for me. This latest one is me come to life in beaver form, and I just absolutely love it. So guys, thank you so much for your support, the amazing print work that you guys do, from graduation announcements to Christmas cards to business cards to banners and tents, and I mean, they do it all. So if you need any kind of print, anything, Wild Beaver Design is your place to go. So thank you, Wild Beaver. Yes, cheers. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to run through pretty quickly some of our guests. they're going to come up here, tell you in a sentence or two what our podcast was about, and then we'll hear from our guest speaker, Mike Spivey, a little more. So, without further ado, Kyla Templeton, you're up, friend. I caught her mid-bite.
I know, I got a bento box.
Now you're on.
Now I'm eating and doing it.
Excellent. We multitask. That's what we do.
You want to sit?
Well, she's quick.
Okay.
So that's why I moved.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I don't want them to get comfortable.
We need this to go up a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Talk
Do I need to talk really close?
You're good. You're good. So, Kyla Templeton, what did we talk about on our podcast?
That was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
We talked about starting things.
We did.
We talked about being a swimmer.
Yes.
Didn't we talk about synchronized swimming?
We talked about synchronized swimming and the fact that I teach it and have never taught it before, thanks to this lovely lady and encouragement. So thank you for that. We also talked about community building.
Yep.
That was a fairly central thing to our discussion. And we also talked about how moving your body helps you clear your mind.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Did we talk about creeks?
We
I
did.
love creeks.
What's your favorite body of water?
The Blake Street Pool? Is that what I said? Or a creek in Arkansas?
You listed like eight bodies of water, I think, on our podcast. But anyway, that will be dropping either tonight or tomorrow. My technologically savvy self has a couple of things left to do with it, and then it'll be out there for the world to listen to. So let's give a round of applause for Kyla Templeton.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
Because today, I told you already this, I was in this Blake Street swimming pool swimming, and the guy next to me was doing some really interesting drills, and I was like, what are you doing? And
Was he playing the silverware?
he had kickboards.
Okay.
And I was, he was like, I'm working on my breathing. And I was like, well, Bonnie helped it. And I said, was it Bonnie? I was like, yeah.
The same drills you've been doing?
No, they were different drills.
Ah,
like,
okay,
one was up like this and one was back like this. And
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's the start of the progression. You
I
just
just
skipped over
think
it.
what's so wonderful about Bonnie is that she helps us keep learning in our swimming, and it's so important. So if you haven't had a lesson from Bonnie lately, I think you can do lessons at Lake Street.
I do lessons at Lake Street, and then we open our backyard pool this week.
I've been swimming
we'll
the
turn
same
it on.
way for 37 years, and she changed my stroke. So
For the better.
you can do it too. Yeah, it's still very hard though.
It always will be. Thank you, Kyla. Woohoo! All right, Kyla took way too long.
I'm sorry.
Remember our 2 or 3 minutes. It's okay.
I think we only
Which
did
is,
like 3.
we did good. It's fine. Okay, next up, Jalen Gibbs. Woohoo! You can move it a little bit if that's better, because you're tall. Hi, Jalen. How are you tonight?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm good.
Do I sound okay?
You sound great.
Perfect.
Tell me what we talked about.
Yeah, so on our episode, we kind of talked about my connection with water from the perspective of a marine biologist and a very passionate scuba diver. I've been doing it for 12 years. So for those of you who are really into science or the nitty-gritty about marine life, then that's the episode for you, and I hope you enjoy it when it comes out.
Perfect. Thank you. We talked about sharks and lionfish and all kinds of cool stuff. So, yeah, thank you so much. I can't wait for yours to drop as well.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Yay! Perfect. All right, Samuel Means, come on up. So I learned a new term from Samuel. I had actually chatted with his dad, and his dad was telling me about all the cool things that his son was up to. And that'll take it. What cool things his son has been up to, and one of the things is historical floats. And I had not ever heard that term before. Makes total sense, but tell us what a historical float is.
So, a historical float is just floating old trade.
Maybe not.
Actually,
You can just hold it, that works too. So really close.
But anyways, a historical float is just a float down any trade route that was used by either pioneers or Indians. So yeah, we just talked about historical floats and the evolution of a canoe sailboat. I used a canoe sailboat for these trips, and took a couple years to get it to the point that it's at.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So he floated the Spring River, which is the westernmost edge of the Ozark mountain range. So it's a really cool 60 miles, 6-day adventure that he went on. So you'll have to stay tuned to hear more about Samuel's adventure. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Stephen Sorkin, you're up. So Stephen is quite incredible. He's done some really amazing, epic endurance swims. And for most folks who hear the word endurance swim, you think, okay, maybe 2-3 miles. No. What's your longest swim?
45
45 what?
miles.
45 miles.
Beaver Lake.
Beaver Lake. Is that not
One
insane?
into the other.
Yeah. One end to the other. I agree. Yeah. Yes. So we talked a little bit about that. We also talked about a couple of your English Channel adventures. How many times have you swum the English Channel?
Successfully twice, unsuccessfully 3 other times. Really, what we talked about was what started as a fundraiser for Children's Hospital back in 2011, kind of morphed into a kind of a passion project over the years, and we went down a lot of rabbit holes of different swims that I've done, and still doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did his most recent epic swim was at Blake Street House Pool on New Year's Eve. How far did you go?
21 miles.
21 miles. That's a hell of a lot of foot turns in a pool.
Yeah.
Yeah. 12 hours?
12 and a half.
12 and a half hours.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Incredible. Yeah. Especially I bet a bunch of folks that are here today saw you that day. So, yeah. So tune in to hear more about crazy endurance swimmers and kind of the why, really, of why you did it, and all kinds of, to use your term, rabbit holes that we went down, because we went down a few. So, yeah, thanks, Stephen.
But I will brag on one thing, and that is all these swims continue to be fundraisers. And as of the Blake Street swim, we went over $500,000 of lifetime funds raised for Children's Hospital.
Woo! Which is incredible. Well done. Yeah, well done. Thank you. Okay, Brooke! Woohoo!
Last one.
The last one. So this is Brooke, your house Sutton, and we talked about a handful of things.
We did.
Tell me, are you wearing your hat?
I'm wearing a third space hat.
Okay.
Yeah.
I should say, I always say see is happy. So.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us what Third Space Coffee is.
Yeah, so I'm one of the co-owners of Third Space Coffees in Bentonville. It's inside of the Best Friends Animal Society Pet Resource Center, so it's cats and coffee. We're a fully plant-based coffee shop and micro bakery.
And it's amazing. If you've not been there, you need to go. It's the best thing in the world to get I like
The shy cat.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
shy cat. That's my favorite. But there's just something magical about getting a coffee or latte of some sort and walking around and loving on animals. It's
Yes.
like, it does your soul so good. And some of you are probably thinking, okay, what does coffee have to do with water?
Yes, well, we talked about my feature documentary as a look at coffee and tea culture around the world. So it was about 5 years of traveling in 22 countries and looking at coffee and tea as a means of connection, and then the role of clean water within making coffee and tea in the communities that we were at where clean water access wasn't very readily accessible, and so there was advocacy for the film The Connected Cup.
Yeah, and you've got a really cool event tomorrow night.
Yes, it's at the Momentary, the Tower Bar. MoPros is a curated event that the Momentary puts on, and I'm their guest speaker tomorrow.
Wonderful. So if you're curious about coffee, the Connected Cup, you can just Google the Connected Cup on YouTube. I guess search it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Or Google it.
Or Google it.
And then you can also come out to the MoPro event tomorrow night. I'll be there. I'm super excited.
Thank you.
Greg, thank you so much.
All right.
It's pretty cool.
Very cool.
All right, let's get going. So, I want to introduce to you guys Mike Spivey. You've got some fans.
Friendly place to be.
It is indeed. It is indeed. I like it. There's a handful of things that are special about Mike. One of which is he is a local kid. There aren't too many of us around that grew up here, right? Megan's one. There's a few of us, and I feel like any time that we can tell stories of yesteryear is kind of fun and pretty special. But you grew up on the east side of Rogers, basically on Beaver Lake. Some of your earliest memories are of filling of Beaver Lake. And Jeremy, where's Jeremy? You said, was it you that just posted a picture? Yeah, so Jeremy shared a picture, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago that was right before they filled the lake. And you could see the old 12 bridge and then the new Highway 12 bridge. It was really cool. It was really cool. So anyway, that's neat that you got to experience that. You even learned to swim on Beaver Lake, which I absolutely love that. You're an avid outdoorsman, lawyer by trade, been married for 30 years, a father of 2 grown girls. You lived in Budapest, Hungary, which I did not know. One of my good friends lives in Budapest, so very cool. And then you spent 6-7 years in Johannesburg?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then competed in running, cycling, and triathlons all over the world, including the Mid-Mar Mile, which for those that don't know, the Mid-Mar Mile, the Oz Mile swim is fashioned a lot off of what they've done. It's a 51-year-old swim, 1 mile, full-on festival atmosphere and event, and that's what you get at the Oz Mile swim in September. Shameless plug. And Mike, side note, Mike has well, I'll get to the side note in a second. You've done Tour de Rhone, Cape Argus, Ho Chi Minh Marathon, Soweto Marathon, a 5-time Ironman, and now you're the founder of the Ozark Foundation. And so there comes my side note, is the Ozark Foundation has been an integral part in what the Oz Mile Swim has become and how we got started, and without your support we wouldn't be what we are today, so thank you for that.
It's been a great pleasure, working with you, and everything you just ticked off. Creating the Ozark Foundation is kind of a culmination of growing up in the Ozarks, growing up on Beaver Lake, learning to swim there, and I really lived outside, east of Highway 12 Bridge, closer to the Hobbs, what most people know as the Hobbs Estate or the Hobbs State Park. And that's where I spent my childhood, on horseback and swimming, skiing on the lake, and just doing kid stuff, very different. My dad was a rancher, and so I grew up raising cattle and was a member of the 4-H club. It's a very different place than it is now, and but it's a very special place. People who sometimes say there wasn't much going on in Northwest Arkansas, 10 years ago or even 40 years ago, they're not
from here.
They're not from here. There was a lot going on. It was just a very special place. I felt privileged to, have that experience as a kid where there wasn't a lot of structure. You had to create your own fun. We would do things, Bonnie, like swim across the lake to Ventress. You know where Ventress is?
Yeah.
And I grew up right across from Ventress Cove and swim back. I did the Oz Mile swim before there was an Oz Mile swim. And
no wonder you like that event.
Exactly.
It brings back childhood memories.
It certainly does, yeah.
Amazing. So one of the things that you guys can look for in hopefully each of our episodes, that's the goal anyway, is a water safety tip. So one of the things that I have in my portfolio, aka one of my buckets, is the joys of swimming. And what we do with the Joys of Swimming is we do water safety presentations all over Northwest Arkansas. If you want to learn more about that, you can Google us, thejoysofswimming.com, and learn all about what we're doing there. But I try to integrate a safety tip in each of our episodes. So with it being March, and it's kind of the beginning of boating season here in Northwest Arkansas, for the safety of everyone going for a ride, it is vital to inspect your vessel, no matter the size. Kayak, canoe, jet boat, jet ski, pontoon, anything. You want to make sure you've done a good once-over on your boat. Engine, navigation lights, safety equipment, Coast Guard approved life jackets. Really all the things. So make sure before you go out there and enjoy your time on the lake that you've gone through that lovely little checklist so we get to see you on the other side. And then I thought this was kind of appropriate. So one of the other things that I like to do is kind of a fun fact about something relevant to what we're going to talk about. And I, with you being the founder of the Ozark Foundation, thought it would be very pertinent to talk about the Ozark National Forest. So the forest covers more than 1 million acres, located mostly in Northwest Arkansas. Guys, this is our backyard. It's so cool that we have a national forest in our backyard. But the southernmost portion of the forest runs along the Arkansas River Valley, south to the Ouachita Mountains. The Ozark Mountains are actually plateaus, uplifted as a unit with few folds or flaws. The ruggedness of these mountains is due to the erosion of the plateaus by swift rivers in them. So it's kind of multifaceted. We're talking about rivers and water, and of course that's what the tributary is all about, is learning more about bodies of water and those kinds of things. And so the fact that the Ozark Mountains are in national forest is right here, and you, the founder of Ozark Foundation, it just seems very fitting.
You know, the people ask me, why did you call this thing the Ozark Foundation? And one of the inspirations was the Ozark Society, which many people here will know as a conservation movement that Dr. Neil Compton started in the 1960s to save the Buffalo River. And that was an epic time and I can't imagine what would have happened, had that happened. And it was Neil Compton and a few other, many other actually, individuals in the area that took on that initiative to save this beautiful natural waterway here in the Ozarks. And then the other thing that inspired Ozark Foundation, as I mentioned earlier, was this culmination of my life experiences, growing up here, being blessed with a nice life here in Northwest Arkansas, and just being an avid person who loves the outdoors and always enjoyed doing running and skiing and swimming and lots of other. But South Africa has the finest outdoor recreation events in the world, in my opinion. The size of the events, how they're managed, how they're executed, are just world class. There's a lot of reasons for that. One is they just have a passion for the outdoors. And it was that experience living in South Africa for 6-7 years, doing these big events, that really finally clicked, hey, why don't I take that experience in South Africa, bring it back to my home region, and do something similar, do something that benefits the community, do something that lowers barriers of entry to people who've not always been able to enjoy the outdoors as I have.
Yeah, well, we're very appreciative of that spark of imagination and idea and voluntary, so thank you for that. Tell me your favorite body of water.
Well, of course, the one I grew up on, Bonnie, Beaver Lake.
Beaver Lake, love it, I'm glad to hear that. You do a lot of activities. What's your current favorite?
For me? Mm-hmm. Well, ironically, Bonnie, I swim now more than I ever have in my life. maybe based upon my age, and maybe something to do with accessibility to a really nice pool.
It's a beautiful pool.
And I think it may have something to do with great swim partners. You and I swim together occasionally. My friend Scott Rampy, who's over here somewhere.
I was going to say, I saw him dash by.
The OG of swimming there. And in fact, it was Scott Rampy who introduced me to triathlon about 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago.
Well, it was at his race that you and I actually met.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And I remember Scott stopping me. He had just moved to the neighborhood and he saw me running or biking, I can't recall, and he said, hey, he goes, I see you on a bike, I see you running. He goes, have you ever done a triathlon? And I said, no, I haven't. I said, but I don't swim. And he said, sure you do. And so anyway, I got in the pool, worked my swim a bit, and about 3 weeks later, I'm doing a race with him. And it turned out okay. And so now I do Scott's event quite often, and he and I swim 3 days a week.
That's wonderful. One thing that surprised me, this was, I don't know, probably close to a year ago now, but you told me that you did not classify yourself as a swimmer.
And you corrected me.
I did.
Yes.
I did, because you are a swimmer, especially with the fact that you're swimming 2, 3, sometimes even 4 times a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you not think of yourself as a swimmer?
Well, I didn't grow up on a swim team. I didn't, I took swim lessons, somewhat casually as it, happened back then. And I didn't really swim a lot after my teenage years. And I was primarily a runner. And then I got into cycling. And then it was later in life, around my late 30s, 40s, when I started swimming, again, mainly to do triathlon. I went to South Africa, I did the Mid-Mar Mile, was amazed that you could get 20,000 people in a body of water, you were there, over a 2-day period, 3-day period. And I saw people of all ages, of all sizes, of all backgrounds. And it was such a friendly crowd, number one. Not used to that. Cyclists are not always really friendly, and runners are terrible.
Swimmers are amazing, aren't we?
Well, the swim community was very inviting, very inclusive, and everybody was, having fun together, and really made an impression upon me. I think I've done Mid-Mar now 4 or 5 times. I did it almost every year I was there. And when you approached me 3 years ago, 4 years ago now, I think you had this, 1,000, 3,000, 5,000 K, venue or swim distance.
The thing, right?
Yeah, it's a standard distance. And I said, how about a mile? And you looked at me like most swimmers would like to say, who does a mile swim? Because it's a middle distance, irregular. It's an irregular distance for proper swimmers. And I started telling you about this Mid-Mar event, and we did it. And I remember you saying, gosh, and it was like 3 weeks before the event.
Yeah.
It was kind of last minute.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I from deciding to do what at the time was called the Damn Mile.
Yes.
And the actual event date was less than 6 weeks.
But I remember you saying, I think I can get 50 people there.
Yep. We had 60.
And you had 60. I actually flew back the night before from Iceland. Only Bonnie only Bonnie could get me jet lagged to then come to a swim, and did it. And then the next year it grew to 300, and then last year was in excess of 300. I think you're going to hit 1,000 at some point in the future.
At some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as we can, but yeah.
And that part of Beaver Lake is the most beautiful part of the lake. It's at the dam site, deep. It's 120 feet.
Oh, it's 250 to 300 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it takes a lot of ropes to hold those buoys.
Yeah.
A lot.
And there's 2 primary tributaries into Beaver Lake. They're the War Eagle Creek and the White River, which are upstream. And so what makes the water in that area so clean, number one, it's deep.
Yeah.
And number two, all the sedimentation coming in from the primary tributaries settles down before it gets there.
Yeah.
So the water's clean, it's picturesque.
Yeah, you
Park
get 20
really.
plus feet of visibility. It's really an amazing swim.
And it's a great venue out on the peninsula there. It's ideal for that type of activity, and I'm a fan.
Thanks. I'm so glad you are. You've got a huge event coming up. We don't have to just talk about the Oz Mile, although I could talk about the Oz Mile all day long. But what's your next event? It's just in a couple weeks.
We have two events coming up. One is a cross-country mountain bike race in Fayetteville. That's going to attract 1,000 plus racers from all over the U.S. and 6-7 countries. You know, with an Olympic year coming up, the way that Olympic hopefuls qualify is by attaining points, and so this is going to be a really busy year in that space. The second event is quintessential Ozark. It's called the Expedition Ozark, and it's an adventure race. It's an expedition level adventure race, which means it's a 5-day multidisciplinary event. Adventure racing, unlike triathlon, which is another multi-sport event, can be a multitude of activities. It could be hiking, it could be cycling, it could be canoeing, rafting, it can be rappelling, caving, it could be archery. You never know what's going to be thrown at an adventure race. Two things about an adventure race that are very unique. The race never stops over 5 days. So you could have kayakers on Beaver Lake at 3 in the morning. No danger there, by the way, right? And then the other piece is it includes orienteering. So there's not, they don't have GPS maps or any kind of instrumentation.
They have a compass and a paper map.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
Yeah.
This is our second year to host that event. We have 14 countries represented, 35 teams from around the world. We have 8 of the top 10 teams in the world coming.
Amazing.
We have a one-day race, which runs in conjunction with the 5-day race. And for that one, we have 250 individuals, I think from 48 states. So
wow.
Amazing turnout. We're going to have the top racers in this region, which is really cool. But here's the coolest thing. We're also showing a movie about adventure racing just released by Lionsgate Entertainment called Arthur the King, starring Mark Wahlberg. It's one of these, gritty adventure race, man meets dog, dog bonds with man. Great story. We're doing a special showing at Crystal Bridges Museum of Art here in Bentonville as part of the opening ceremony. So what is really special about that event is it is a fusion of art, culture, and endurance racing in one experience. And that's really what Ozark Foundation is trying to do, is to elevate a race of that time, just be more than a race, more than just getting a finisher medal and walking away. We really want to create a bigger experience.
I should say it's all about the experience,
Yeah.
and I think that's one of the true designating factors of what the Ozark Foundation is able to do is elevate, to use your word, the experience. It's not, and that was for me, for the Oz Mile, I didn't want folks to just show up, do their swim and leave. I wanted them to come and enjoy and experience Beaver Lake in its glory, right? And enjoy watching and cheering on the other swimmers, the other racers for various events. You guys do a great one. The Oz Kids Crit is super, super fun. And I feel like that race also kind of embodies that idea of we all want everyone to succeed and do well, but what can I do to encourage you and make this an outstanding and memorable experience for you. And the for you part is 2 years old is the youngest? Is that right? Yeah, all the way up to 12, I believe.
12.
So it's really getting these kids excited about being on a bike and understanding what racing might look like. and hopefully them getting bit by that bug.
Yeah, well, the soul of our foundation is really to get young people and families outside. And that's our soul. That's what we want to do. We want to lower those barriers to entry to outdoor recreation. And there are a lot of barriers out there. There's financial barriers are huge in a lot of these sports. And there's a cultural hesitancy, with certain communities here. And so we're trying to create these very welcoming and inclusive experiences where people feel welcomed, and we're trying to inspire healthy lifestyle, and it's our passion. And we wake up every morning hitting the ground running, as my dad used to say, trying to pursue that. And this year or last year we supported about 40 different events. We're moving into more bigger, better, fewer, to where we really want to focus on the quality of the event, of that experience, and trying to really focus on underrepresented communities.
Wonderful.
It's fun.
It is fun. It's exciting stuff, and it's in our backyard,
Yes,
which
it
is
is.
amazing. I feel very, very lucky to live in this space.
One thing about our backyard, we have the natural infrastructure here, whether it's water, world class. We have endless country roads. We've got some of the best single track in the world now. So we can do so many things with that natural infrastructure if we have the courage and grit to go do it. And that's what it takes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why you doing what you're doing, Bonnie, is so important. You're taking this beautiful body called Beaver Lake, this amazing, 11,000 acre reservoir, and putting a world-class event on top of it. Kudos to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. So, you can learn all kinds of things about the Ozark Foundation at ozarkfoundation.org. Is that right?
Yeah.
And see what events are coming up in your backyard. And with that, I'll close this out. So for those at home watching, we're so glad that you did, or listening, we're so glad that you did. Make sure to follow, like, subscribe, all the things. It's so weird to say. But please do it. It means the world to me and our guests and what we're trying to do with the tributary. And really what we're trying to do is just expose all these amazing things that are not only in our backyard, but really all over the world. You'll hear from guests that have done the English channel, like Stefan here, and folks. I had a gal, a remote interview that did a swim from Vermont into Canada. It was through a lake, I can't remember the name of it, but it was a 27-mile swim and into another country. And her story about getting back is very entertaining. But anyway, all kinds of really, really cool things centering around water. Conservation, so these things are around as we get old, as well as for our kids and grandkids to come. So stay tuned, learn lots, like, subscribe, all the things. And thank you so much for being here. Woo!